Shalom, family and friends. Here we go again with another awesome lesson on the behalf of Solid Foundation Israelite Academy. I will be your host today, Shabar, Judah, Israel. You can follow me on Facebook as well as Twitter and YouTube. So please like, comment, and subscribe. We need your help to support this movement. And what more can I say? We give all praises and glorification and due honor to the King, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Also salutations to the brothers that's edifying the lost sheep, which are the modern day blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans. And we also give double honors to the elders. Okay. So the title for this lesson today is Understanding Romans the 11th chapter. So we're going to go into Romans the 11th chapter. That is Understanding Romans the 11th chapter. Alright, so let's head over to Romans the 11th chapter. Get your King James Bible. You will need King James. You will need the King James Bible, composition book to take notes, and some pen or pencil, and that's it. You might need the Apocrypha as well. So let's get it. I'm going to explain Romans the 11th chapter. I'm going to break it down in its entirety, and I'm going to do it as fast as I can. So I'm going to explain it and I'm going to break it down. I believe Romans the 11th chapter can be a difficult chapter to some, can be difficult to some comprehension. And so I want to go into it and I want to make it as plain as possible. So here we go. Now, there's no such thing as spiritual Israel. Alright? So let me put that out. Because a lot of church organizations will bring up spiritual Israel. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let me grab a display. You will see stuff like this, especially when you go to church. You will hear stuff like this, especially when you go to church. Spiritual Israel. Spiritual Israel. Okay, spiritual Israel. There is no such thing as spiritual Israel, okay? There is no such thing as spiritual Israel, because you must realize Israel was the son of Isaac and Rebekah. Actually, Israel's name was once Jacob. Okay? Israel's name was once Jacob. Jacob and his descendants has never vanished from the earth. They are around still to this day, in the here and now, as I speak. So there's no such thing as a spiritual Israel. I want to clear that up, because in order for you to be an Israelite, you must be a descendant of Jacob, which also his name was changed to Israel. So when people are talking about spiritual Israelites, they make it seem as though the original Israelites are no longer around, and that's not true. Alright? So you must believe that. And if you think that it's not true on what I'm saying, I'm going to grab you a precept. Let's go to Jeremiah 31:35 to show you that the Israelites are still around to this day. This is Jeremiah 31:35. Thus said the Lord Yahweh, which gives the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divides the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord Yahweh of hosts is his name. Jeremiah 31:36. If those ordinances depart before me, said the Lord Yahweh, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me and forever. So he tells you in Jeremiah 31:35 that he give us the sun for a light to shine during the day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for light by night. So basically, to make a long story short, if the sun, if the moon, and the stars, if they ever depart, then the children of Israel, the seed of Israel, will stop being a nation. But you can still look up in the sky to this day and you can see the sun. You can still look up in the sky during the twilight and you can see the moon and the stars. And if you can still behold the sun, moon, and stars today, and if the sun and the moon and stars, which are the artists, if they hasn't departed today, and you can still see the sun, moon, and the stars, which I think we all can, then the seed of Israel shall cease. Then the seed of Israel, basically, then the seed of Israel shall also cease from being a nation. So what I'm saying is, we can still see the sun, moon, and stars. That means the Israelites are still around. You see? So these people are still around. Thus said the Lord, okay, if heaven above can be measured, and the foundations of the earth search out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, said the Lord. So here's another thing, okay? Jeremiah 31:37. If any man can measure the heavens and the foundation of the earth thereof, and search it out beneath, and give the exact measurement of the earth, he said, if heaven can be measured and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, he said, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel. No man has measured got the exact calculation of the heavens and the foundation of the earth beneath. So that means that the Israelites are still around. So the Most High has not cast off the seed of the children of Israel for all they that have done, said the Lord. So the Israelites are still around. So when you go back to Romans 11:1, I say then, this is Paul speaking, has God cast away his people? God forbid. And we know God has not cast away his people, according to Jeremiah 31, verses 35 through 37, we showed you. He said in Jeremiah 31, verses 35 through 37, if the sun, moon, and the stars depart, then Israel will cease from being a nation. If the heavens and the earth, foundation of the earth can be measured out, then Israel will cease from being a nation. Then he would cast off all the seed of Israel. But we know that no man has done that. The stars are still here, the moon is still here, the sun is still here. No one can measure out the earth thereof. So has God cast away his people? God forbid. See? For I also am an Israelite. This is Paul speaking of the seed of Abraham of the tribe of Benjamin. So Paul was a Hebrew Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. So as you can see here, the 12 tribes of Israel chart, the tribe of Benjamin would be the West Indian Negroes of today. Basically, Jamaicans. So Paul was from this tribe, Benjamin, which means son of the right hand. Benjamin in Hebrew, son of the right hand. Paul came from the tribe of Benjamin. Paul was an Israelite. What tribe did he come out of? The tribe of Benjamin, which are your West Indian Negroes today, better yet known as the Jamaicans. So Paul would be a modern day Jamaican, all right? These are modern day Jamaicans. Okay, so to give you an illustration, Paul was a dark-skinned man. He was a carbon-dated man, a black man. See, these are Jamaicans. The Jamaicans today is from the tribe of Benjamin, you see? West Indian Negroes, Jamaicans. You see? Jamaicans. So Paul would have looked something like this of today, just to give you an idea, you see. All right? And so Romans 11:2, God has not cast away his people, you see, which he foreknew. So God has not cast away his people. And this is in the New Testament. So God has not cast away his people, okay? And so we know that spiritual Israel, that's not so. Because when you talk about something spiritual, that means you're talking about something outside of the physical. You see? So when they talk about spiritual Israel of today, they try to make it seem in these church organizations, these Christian organizations, they try to make it seem like the original legitimate Israelites are gone. You see? So spiritual Israel, that's off, man. No such thing as that. I've done a video on this already. I'm not going to get all into that. There's no such thing as spiritual Israel. You can cancel that because God has not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Now, if God would have cast away all of his people, which he foreknew, then you can say this is correct, and it would have been a spiritual Israel. But he has not cast away all his people. His people are still around to this day. And who are the people of God today? The blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans. They are the people of God today. Okay? The 12 tribes of Israel. African Americans, West Indian Negroes, Jamaicans, Haitians, Dominicans, Guatemalans, Panamanians, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, Argentinians to Chileans, Colombians to Uruguay, and Mexicans. So-called. All these people today is God's people. Salah. So to wrap it up in a nutshell, blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans are God's people today. They are the original Israelites according to the biblical prophecies. So has God cast away his people? I think not. All right? And so let's continue on. God has not cast away his people which he foreknew. Right? Wot ye not what the scriptures said? What ye not what the scripture says of Elias, that's Elijah, how he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, let me put this right here. Put this right here so I can see, guys. Just a second. I have the incense burning, so here we go. So, do you not know what the scripture says of Elijah? How he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, Romans 11:3, Lord, they have killed thy prophets and digged down thy altars, and I am alone left, and they seek my life. Because this was during the time of King Ahab and Jezebel, when she was killing all the prophets up. Elijah was fleeing for his life. All right? So, Romans 11:3, Lord, they have killed thy prophets and digged down thy altars, and I am alone, and they seek my life. You can read about that in 1 Kings, chapter 18 and chapter 19, when Elijah was on the run because this Phoenician prince, Jezebel, was killing the prophets. Romans 11:4, but what said the answer? But what said the answer of God unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed down to the knee to the image of Baal, because the Phoenician prince was trying to enforce the worship of Baal on the people during that time. You can read about this in 1 Kings chapter 18 to 19 on your free time. Romans 11:5, even so, then at this present time also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. You see, Romans 11:6, and if by grace, then it is no more works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But if by works, then it is no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more work. Okay? And so, we're going to go back over verse 5. It says, even so then at this present time also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. Let's go to Isaiah 10 and 28. So, let's go to Isaiah 10 and 28. All right. Isaiah 10 and 28. He is come to Ad. He is passed to Magron at Meshmash. He had laid up his carriages. Is it Isaiah 10, 28 or 21? let's go back up a little bit. That might be the wrong verse. Isaiah 10:21. Yes. Forgive me, brothers and sisters. The wrong verse. Salah. Isaiah 10:21. The raiment shall return, even the raiment of Jacob unto the mighty God. So it's a raiment that shall return. The raiment of Israel, man, unto the mighty God. All right? So let's go back to Romans, the 11th chapter, and let's pick off at verse 6. And if by grace, then it is no more works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace, but if it be of works, then it is no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more works. Now, right here, it said, if by grace, then it is no more works. That works right there is talking about animal sacrifice, because we know before the Messiah came to make an atonement for your sins, you had to offer up some type of animal, whether it was a bullock, some type of lamb, turtle dove, whatever it may be. Before the Messiah came to atone for your sins, you had to offer up an animal. And this is talking about animal sacrifice. It says, if by grace, then it is no more works, no more animal sacrifice. Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But if it be works, animal sacrifice, then it is no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more works. And we're no longer under the animal sacrificial law no more. The sacrificial law, period. And the Levitical priesthood. All right. Verse 7. What then? Israel have not attained that which he seeketh for, but the election have attained it, and the rest were blinded. Israel have not attained that which he seeketh for, but the election have attained it, and the rest were blinded. So let me explain that. Israel have not attained what he seeketh for, which is mercy and forgiveness. But the election have attained it, and the rest was blinded. Now, who is the rest that was blinded? Who is the rest that was blinded? The rest that was blinded is talking about the Jews. And I'm going to show you this. Matthew 23:13. So let's type in that. Matthew 23:13. It says, but woe unto you scribes and you Pharisees, you hypocrites, for ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in. So he was telling the scribes and the Pharisees, which was the leaders of the Jews during the time of the Messiah, black men, black Jews, hypocrites, for you shut up the kingdom of heaven. Just like the scribes and Pharisees today would be the modern day black pastors of today. That's doing the same damn thing. So you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men, because when we try to tell blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the truth that they are Israelites, the pastors come along and tell them that they are Gentiles. The pastors come along and tell them something else, far different than what we have told them. So to this day, your scribes and Pharisees will be your black pastors today, doing the same damn thing. You shut up the kingdom of heaven against men, for you neither go in yourselves, neither you let them that are entering to go in. Because when we try to bring this truth to you and tell you that it's time to repent because we are the Israelites, they tell you that we're not. Matthew 13:14. Woe unto you scribes and you Pharisees, you hypocrites, for you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense you make long prayer. Therefore you shall receive a greater damnation. Right? Let's go down to verse 24. Woe unto you scribes, you hypocrites, for you compare sea and land to make one proselyte. And when he is made, a proselyte is a Jew that went off but returned back to the laws of Moses. And when he is made, you make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. All right? Matthew 23:16. Woe to you blind guides, which I say, whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing, but whosoever shall swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor. 23:17. Ye fools and blind. Right? This is all related to the Pharisees and the scribes. Ye fools and blind. For whether is greater than the gold of the temple that sanctify the gold, Matthew 23:18. And whosoever shall swear by the altar is nothing, but whosoever shall swear by the gift that is upon it, he is guilty. So to make a long story short, if you go all the way down to the 24th verse of Matthew 23, it says, "You fools, you blind." You go all the way down, it's talking about all it's talking about from Matthew 23 verses 13 to 24. Let's go back up. Matthew 23, you can start with Matthew 23 here, and you can go all the way down to the 24th verse. And it's talking about the scribes, Pharisees. That's what it's talking about. Now the scribes and Pharisees was the leaders of the Jews. So when you go back to Romans 11 verse 7, and it says, Israel have not attained which he seeketh for, which was mercy and forgiveness, but the election have retained it. We're going to go over that. And the rest was blind. The rest that was blind was the Jews, the leaders of the Jews, the Pharisees, the Sadducees. Romans 11:8, according as it is written, God has given them the spirit of slumber. God has given them the spirit of slumber. Who? God gave the Jews, the leaders of the Jews. He gave the Jews spirit and slumber. Eyes that they should not see and ears that they should not hear until this day. And to this day. Because there's a lot of you so-called Negroes, there's a lot of you so-called African Americans that are the real Jews. You still in the same condition to this day. You have not attained mercy and forgiveness. You won't repent. And so the rest was blind. And a lot of you still blind to this day. Okay? So, yeah. He gave a lot of Jews the spirit of slumber. The spirit of slumber. Okay? Let's go to Isaiah 29:9 concerning the spirit of slumber. Isaiah 29:9. Isaiah 29:9. Stay to yourselves and wonder. Cry ye out and cry. They are drunken, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink. Isaiah 29:10. For the Lord hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and have closed your eyes. The prophets and your rulers, the seers he has covered. You see, this was prophecy, man. This will soon happen to the leaders of the Jews, you know, for rejecting the Messiah. Not all Jews rejected the Messiah. I got to clear that up, because when we're reading this, God have given them the spirit of slumber. Some of you may assume that all Jews rejected the Messiah. So let's clear that up real quick. Let's go to St. John 8:31. St. John 8:31. Clear that up, because all Jews collectively did not reject the Messiah. St. John 8:31. Then said Jesus, Yahushua, to those Jews which believed on him, if you continue in my word, then you are my disciples indeed. So you can see right there, not all Jews collectively rejected the teachings of the Messiah, because it said that there were certain Jews which believed on him. So not all Jews didn't reject the Messiah. But who rejected the Messiah and his teachings? The scribes and the Pharisees. We showed you that according to Matthew the 23rd chapter, beginning with 13th verse, all the way down to the 24th verse. The scribes and the Pharisees, the leaders of the Jews, they were the ones that was given the spirit of slumber, that their eyes should not see and ears that they should not hear to this day. And that's your pastors. That's these international mega pastors, these black pastors today. They have been given a spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see and ears that they shall not hear to this very day. Just like the ancient scribes and Pharisees of the days of old. All right, Romans 11:9. And David said, let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them. Romans 11:9. So it says, David said, let their table. Now, what is the table? The table is the Bible, man. Isaiah 30:8. Let's go to Isaiah 30:8 to explain the table. Isaiah 30:8. Because it's not talking about a table that you eat on. Okay, it's not talking about a table that you play cards on. Isaiah 30:8. Now go write it before them in the table. See? So he tells Isaiah, go and write it before them in the table, and note it in a book, that it might be for the time to come and forever. So a table, if you go to Interlinear, You go down to the word table, the term table, okay, see that? Table, that would be Hebrew 38:71, which is luwak, a luwak, board, slab, tablet, a plank. So it's like tablets. It's like the Ten Commandments. It was like it was stone tablets. See, tablets of stone. The Ten Commandments that was given to Moses. The Ten Commandments was written by the finger of God on 2 tablets of stone. Boards of wood, plate of metal. So basically tablets of stone. The modern day table is the Bible, because they wrote ancient prophecies in tablets of stones back in the ancient world, but they don't no longer do that today because the Bible has been put in book form. So when they talk about tables, it's talking about basically the Bible today. So David said, let their Bible be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and recompense of them. So the Pharisees, the scribes, the leaders of the Jews, David had prophesied. David prophesied that 2/3 of God's people would be blind. 2/3 of God's people would be given a spirit of slumber and eyes that they should not see and ears that they should not hear. And what do you know? The prophecy of David fell on those scribes and Pharisees. So when David prophesied, let their table be made a snare, that prophecy came to pass when it fell on the leaders of the Jews that rejected the Messiah teachings. You see, I'm going to show you the precept of this. I'm going to show you the precept to Romans 11:9. All right, David said, let their table be made a snare. I'm going to show you the precept to that. Psalms 69:21. So we're going into Psalm 69:21 because this is actually what David said it. Psalm 69:21. Psalm 69:21. They gave me also gall for meat, and in my thirst they gave me vinegar to drink. David here is prophesying himself as the Messiah, because this is what they did to the Messiah. So David is prophesying in the spirit of the Messiah. Okay, he said they gave me gall for meat, and in my thirst they gave me vinegar to drink. You see, this is what happened to the Messiah. They really gave the Messiah piss. You see, Psalm 69:22. This is what, here it is. David said, let their table become a snare before them, and that which shall have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. Because he said, these scriptures should have been for their welfare. These scriptures should have been for their benefit. But they took it lightly. They took the Messiah lightly when he came. They took him lightly. They didn't consider him the Son of God, and they didn't consider the things he was doing was divine, and they mocked him. So David prayed this prayer way before the Messiah came. David had prophesied this on the scribes and Pharisees' behalf. Let their book, let the Bible, let these scriptures, let these scrolls that they read, let it become a trap before them. Let them not understand it. Let these scribes and Pharisees not understand it. The reason why he did that, because they rejected the Messiah. And he said the reason why he said, since you rejected the Messiah, let these scriptures, these tablets, let these scrolls, anything spiritual, let it become a snare. Let it become a trap. That it should have been for your welfare. Should have been for you scribes and Pharisees' benefits. But let it become a trap to you. Let them not understand it. And that happened in the Messiah time. The leaders of the Jews rejected his teachings and everything. Psalm 69:23. Let their eyes be darkened that they see not, and make their loins continually shake. And that's why you see what you see in Romans 11. When they say that God, Romans 11:8, when they say that God have given them a spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see. This prophecy fell on those Pharisees and those scribes that David said back in Psalm 69. You see, as you can see right here, Romans 11:9, and David said, let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them. Romans 11:10, let their eyes be darkened that they might see, and bow down their back always. We just read that. Psalm 69:23, let their eyes be darkened that they not see, and make their loins continually shake. So you better believe this prophecy fell on those scribes and Pharisees for the rejection of the Messiah. Romans 11:11. All right. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Basically, who is the they when they say have they stumbled? They're talking about the Jews, talking about the leaders of the Jews, talking about the scribes and the Pharisees. Have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. But rather through their fall, salvation is coming to the Gentiles to provoke them to jealousy. Now I gotta explain this too, because it said salvation has come into the Gentiles to provoke the Jews to jealousy. So who are these Gentiles here? Are they Gentiles outside of the nation of Israel? What do I mean? In Romans 11:11, who are the Gentiles that salvation came to? Are they the actual heathens? Because the biological Gentiles are listed in the red box. So in 11:11, salvation, Romans 11:11, salvation came to the Gentiles. Is he talking about the Gentiles in the red box? Because there are two types of Gentiles. And this is what many churches do not know. There's two types of Gentiles. You have biological Gentiles, which are in the red box. And then you had Israelite foreigners that was counted as Gentiles because they was following the customs of the biological Gentiles in the red box. So in Romans 11:11, salvation is coming to the Gentiles to provoke the Jews to jealousy. Was it these in the red box? No, it wasn't. It was not the white man. The white man is the Gentile. The East Indians are Gentiles. The Assyrians are Gentiles. Syria are Gentiles. The Arabs are Gentiles. Chinese are Gentiles. Japanese, Ethiopians, Egyptians, North Africans, South Africans. The people of Turkey, Russian, Greeks, German, the people of Spain, and the people of Rome. They are all Gentiles. So Romans 11:11, when it says salvation has come into the Gentiles, it's not talking about the biological Gentiles today. It's talking about the Israelites still. It's still talking about the Israelite. But it's just talking about Israelites, foreigners that became strangers to the covenant. I will explain it to you guys. Don't worry. So salvation is coming to the Gentiles. Salvation is coming to the Gentiles to provoke the Jews to jealousy. Because don't forget about the split. Don't forget about that. Please don't forget about the split. What do I mean? When King Saul ruled, King Saul was the first king to rule over Israel as a united kingdom. Secondly, King David was the second one to rule over Israel as a united kingdom. And third, King Solomon was the third to rule over Israel as a united kingdom. But King Solomon did something. King Solomon transgressed the laws of God, married foreign women, and built temples for these foreign women to worship their idols and their gods. And as a result, the King Solomon transgression, when King Solomon's son Rehoboam inherited the throne, Israel had became a divided nation. Okay, so during the days of Solomon's son Rehoboam, Israel had already became a divided nation. What you mean? The 12 tribes of Israel busted up. You had the southern kingdom, which was known as Judah, Judea, or the Jews, that was the southern kingdom. And then you had the northern kingdom, which was known as the house of Israel, or what you would call Ephraim. So during the days of Rehoboam, Solomon's son, Israel was no longer a united kingdom. Israel had become a divided kingdom. You see? And as a result, after the division, Israel went into several captivities under the heathen. You see? So, what do I mean when Israel became a divided kingdom? Let me show you in the scriptures. This is on the verge of Israel becoming a divided kingdom. Now remember, like I said, Israel was a united kingdom, but Solomon did something and caused the kingdom to become divided. I'm going to show you. But King Solomon loved many strange women. This is 1 Kings 11:1. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, and Ammonites, and Edomites, and Zidonians, and Hittites. Okay, 1 Kings 11:2. Of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, You shall not go into them, because that's interracial marriage, and the Lord is against interracial marriage. So he did not want the children of Israel intermingling with the biological heathens. Neither shall they come into you, for surely they would turn away your heart after their gods. And Solomon clave unto these in love. So Solomon took foreign women, which the Lord thy God had told Israel not to mingle with. And so he had 700 wives, okay, princesses. So he had 700 wives, which were Jews, and princesses, and he had 300 concubines, which was not Jews, which was biological heathen women. And his wives turned away his heart, man. Most likely these concubines. For it came to pass, when Solomon was old, he grew up in old age, that his wives turned away his heart after their gods. And his heart was not perfect with the Lord Yahweh his God, as was his heart David his father. 1 Kings 11:5, for Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians. Ashtoreth today would be Ishtar, and Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites, which is Moloch. 1 Kings 11:6, and Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord Yahweh. He went not fully after the Lord Yahweh, and as David his father. So Solomon did evil, to make a long story short. So what did he do? 1 Kings 11:7, then Solomon did build a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, and the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. Ammon today is the modern day Japanese. Moab today is the modern day Chinese. And what Solomon did, he basically built idols, you know, for the Chinese and Japanese to worship. You see, 1 Kings 11:8. And likewise did he all his strange wives. So he built idols for all of his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods. And guess what? 1 Kings 11:9, and the Lord Yahweh was angry with Solomon, because his heart was turned from the Lord Yahweh, the power of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice. 1 Kings 11:10, and commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods, but he kept not that which the Lord Yahweh commanded. And so as a result, this caused the kingdom to be rent from Solomon. I'm going to show you. 1 Kings 11:11, wherefore the Lord said unto Solomon, for as much as this is done unto you, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded you, I will surely what? He said, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and I will give it to thy servant. So when you rend something, then you tear something. When you rend something, you tear something. So this was on the verge when Israel was a united kingdom. As a result of King Solomon's transgression, the Most High rend the kingdom from Solomon. You see, and this is how Israel became a divided kingdom. You see, I'm just trying to give you the history behind to lead up who are the Gentiles in Romans the 11th chapter. So 1 Kings 11:12. Notwithstanding in thy days, I will not do it for David thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of thy hand. I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. So he didn't rend the kingdom from King Solomon. You see, he didn't take it when Israel was a united kingdom, all 12 tribes. He didn't take it from King Solomon during the time of his reign and his rule. But when his son Rehoboam inherited the throne, he split it up during his son's reign. You see, so you can see right there. But I will rend it out of the hand of your son. And when Rehoboam became king, that's what he did. See? 1 Kings 11:13, howbeit I would not rend all the kingdom, but I would give one tribe to your son, for David my servant's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, which I have chosen thee. So he said, I'm going to give one tribe to your son Rehoboam after the division. So when Rehoboam became king of Israel, he was the fourth. Rehoboam was like one of the first kings to rule over Israel as a divided kingdom. Rehoboam and Jeroboam. King Solomon's son Rehoboam, when he started to reign, he said he gave him one tribe. Now Rehoboam being King Solomon's son, that was already Judah, because Rehoboam was a Judite, and King Solomon come from the tribe of Judah. Last but not least, and their father was a Judite. So Judah was Rehoboam. He said he would give him one tribe. The one tribe that he gave Rehoboam was Benjamin. All right, he gave Rehoboam Benjamin, and then okay. So he gave him Benjamin. See that? 1 Kings 11 and 14, and the Lord stirred up an adversity into Solomon. Hadad the Edomite was of the king's seed of Edom, and so forth. All I'm trying to show you that, yes, when King Solomon's son inherited the throne, Israel was no longer a united kingdom. It was split. It was like this, and it became a divided nation as a result of King Solomon's transgression, marrying foreign women and building idols for these foreign women to worship. And when Rehoboam inherited the throne, which was King Solomon's son, it was like this. The nation of Israel split up because Rehoboam tried to put a great debt on the children of Israel by making them pay taxes, making them pay extreme taxes, and the nation of Israel split up. Some of Israel wanted Jeroboam to be their king, and most likely Jeroboam, he became the king of northern Israel, and Jeroboam became the king of northern Israel, and Rehoboam became the king of southern Israel. I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. You see right here, the divided kingdom. Now these images are not correct because we know that Jeroboam and Rehoboam, we know they was not white men. They was not these white devils you see here. Both of these men was dark-skinned man, black man, carbon-dated man. So these images is far off. Don't get stuck in the images because we know our Bible has been whitewashed. But Jeroboam and Rehoboam was Solomon's son, and Rehoboam got southern Israel and one tribe, which was Benjamin, and Jeroboam got northern Israel, you see. So it was some Israelites wanted Jeroboam to be their king after Rehoboam tried to force taxes on high taxes on some of the Israelites. So they split it up. This is divided kingdom. Northern Israel, which was known as Samaria, Jeroboam was their king, and northern Israel, known as Samaria, Jeroboam was their king, and southern Israel, known as Judah, Rehoboam was their king. You see, and so Israel became a divided kingdom. And I'm gonna tell you who are the Gentiles in Romans the 11th chapter that was given salvation to provoke the Jews to jealousy. It was still the Israelites, but it was most likely northern Israel, because northern Israel, they after northern Israel was taken over by the Assyrians in 721 BC. The Assyrians took northern Israel to Assyria, all right? And after the Assyrian captivity, northern Israel became dispersed. You see? Also like Babylon. Babylon took the southern kingdom in 586 BC. Babylonians took them to Babylon as slaves. And so Israel became busted up. Became a divided kingdom. Guess what? And so in 1 Kings 11:11, not 1 Kings 11:11, I'm sorry. Let's go back to Romans 11:11. Romans 11:11. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid, but rather through their fall, salvation is coming to the Gentiles to provoke them to jealousy. Salvation that came to the Gentiles was Israelite foreigners after the split, to provoke them to jealousy. Who? The Jews. See, Romans 11:12. Now, if the fall of them, which are the Jews, be the riches of the world. Now, who is the world? Who is the world classified? The world here is classified as northern Israel. The fall of the Jews became the riches of the northern kingdom Israelites. And I'm going to show you this. Isaiah 45:17. Isaiah 45:17. That world is talking about Israel. Isaiah 45:17. But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed, nor confounded world. See that? Nor confounded world without end. So the world without end was Israel, northern Israel, Samaria. And so you can see right here, Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed, nor confounded world without end. So the world without end was always Israel. Israel was known as the world. You see, like for God so loved the world, that's talking about Israel, because the Messiah died for the nation of Israel, the elect of Israel. Also, when it goes back into Romans 11:12, Now, if the fall of the Jews, the fall of them, being the Jews, be the riches of the world, northern Israel, Israelite foreigners, and the diminishing of them be the riches of the Gentiles, the diminishing of them with the destruction, the Jews, the diminishing of them, the diminishing of them be the riches of the Israelite foreigners. How much more their fullness? You see, how much more their fullness? Like, they can repent, man. You see, Romans 11 and 13. For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify my office. So these Gentiles here, they are not what you see in the red box. They are not white people, East Indians, Arabs, Africans, Japanese, Chinese, Syrians. They are not the people in the red box. These Gentiles here that we're reading about are not the people in the red box. These Gentiles here, they are Israelite foreigners that had adopted the philosophies and customs of these people in the red box. You had Israelites in Rome that were calling themselves Romans. You had Israelites in Ephesus that was calling themselves Ephesians. You had Israelites in Greece that was calling themselves Corinthians. You had Israelites in Philippi, which was calling themselves Philippians. You had Israelites in Colossae, which is Asia Minor, that was calling themselves Colossians. You had Israelites in Thessalonica, which is Greece, that was calling themselves Thessalonians. So these was always Israelite foreigners. Two types of Gentiles: biological Gentiles, and then Israelites who choose to stop keeping their laws and follow the biological Gentiles and making themselves Gentiles by conversion. Romans 11 and 14. If by any means I provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and I might save some of them. So Romans 11 and 14, by any means I provoke to emulation of them which are my flesh. Basically what Paul was saying, I may provoke to emulation them which is on my flesh, were the Jews. I may provoke some of them that I might save them. Because that's what happened. The Jews became jealous when salvation was given to the northern kingdom Israelites, better yet known Gentiles, Israelite foreigners. Romans 11, 15, all right? For if the casting away of them, which is the Jews, be the reconciling of the world, which is the northern kingdom Israelites, we showed you Isaiah 45, 17, Israel, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? You see, Romans 11 and 15. Okay, so if the reconciling of the world, let's go to 2 Chronicles 29, 23. 2 Chronicles 29, 23. Second Chronicles 29, 23. And they brought forth the he-goats for the sin offering before the king and the congregation, and they laid their hands upon them. 2 Chronicles 29, 24. And the priest killed them, and they made reconciliation with their blood upon the altar to make an atonement for all Israel. For the king commanded that the burnt offering and the sin offering should be made for all Israel. See? So the priest killed them, and they made a reconciliation with their blood upon the altar to make an atonement for Israel. So who made a reconciliation in the New Testament with his blood to make an atonement for Israel? It was the Messiah. See? Romans 11 and 15. For if the casting away of them be the reconciliation of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? You see? Romans 11 and 16. All right. Before we go into Romans 11 and 16, I want to give you another precept on reconciliation. Let's go to Romans chapter 5, verse 10. Romans 5, verse 10. Let's go there. Dealing with reconciliation. Romans 5 and 10. For if when we were enemies, we were reconciled to God by death of his son. You see? So the ones that was reconciled to God by death of his son was the Israelites. Much more being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life. So you can see that the only people that was reconciled, to God by death of his son was the Israelites. We was reconciled to God by death of his son. His son being the Yahweh. Yahweh reconciled the northern kingdom to the southern kingdom to make one kingdom again, to make one united kingdom together. So when you talk about reconciliation, reconciliation don't play on the biological heathen's behalf. When you talk about automatically reconciliation, reconciliation is only for Israel. We were reconciled to God by death of his son. You see, that's talking about Israelites, man. So in Romans 11 and 15, for if the casting away of them be the reconciliation of the world, the reconciliation of the northern kingdom, the reconciliation of the house of Israel, the kingdom of Ephraim, the Israelite foreigners, which was Gentiles, the reconciliation to the northern kingdom back to the southern kingdom to make one fold again. What shall the receiving of them be? But life from the dead? No. You see Romans 11 and 16. For if the first fruit be holy, then the lump is holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. So in Romans 11 and 16, it says, for if the first fruit. Now who are the first fruits? Who are the first fruits here? Who are the first fruits? 1 Corinthians 15:23. Let's get it. 1 Corinthians 15:23. Show you who the first fruits are. 1 Corinthians 15:23. But every man in his own order. Christ the first fruits. Afterward, they that are Christ at his coming. So who is the first fruit? Yahweh Shai. Christ. Who is the first fruit? Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai is the first fruits. He's the first fruit. Right? So if the first fruit be holy, it says the lump. Now who is the lump? 1 Corinthians. Let's go to there. 1 Corinthians and we will look at 1 Corinthians 5. 1 Corinthians 5 and 7. Find out who is this lump. Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even Christ our Passover is sacrificed for us. So who is the lump? Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump. 1 Corinthians 5 and 7. So who is the lump? Pursuant to Romans 11 and 16. Who is the lump? The lump is Israel. First fruits. The first fruit is Yahweh Shai. The lump is the Israelites. So if the first fruit, which is Yahweh Shai, Christ, be holy, then the Israelite, which is the lump, is also holy. And if the root be holy, now who is the root? Let's go to Revelation. Revelation and 22:16. Revelation 22:16 to show you who the root. Revelation 22:16. I, Yahweh Shai, who they call Jesus, verbatim, have sent my angel to testify to you these things in the churches. I am the roots and the offspring of David and the bright morning star. So, Yahweh Shai, who they ignorantly call Jesus, he says he's the root, right? So, who's the root? Yahweh Shai be holy. So are the branches. Now, who are the branches? Let's go to John 15 and 5. Let's show you who the branches are. John 15 and 5. Let's get it. Show you who are the branches. I am the vine, ye are the branches. The Messiah said he's the vine. Matter of fact, let's click on the red letter to show you he's saying it. See, if it's in red letters, that means that Hamashiach Yahweh Shai is saying this. So the Messiah said, what he said? He said, I'm the vine, you are the branches. So he was telling the Jews that I'm the vine, and he told the Jews that you are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me, ye can do nothing. So you can see right there for yourself, who is the vine? Yahushua, the black Messiah is the vine. Who are the branches? The Jews are the branches, all right? And so Romans 11:16 is the first fruit is Yahushua, which is Christ. The lump is the nation of Israel. The roots is Yahushua, the black Messiah. And the branches is the Jews, Israelites. You see? All right? Romans 11:17. And if some of the branches be broken off like the Jews, they was broken off because some of the branches that was broken off was the scribes and the Pharisees, the leaders of the Jews for unbelief. Some of the branches was broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree. Now, when you say thou being a wild olive tree, who he was talking about? He was talking about thou being a wild olive tree. He was talking about northern Israel, which is down here, from Simeon to Issachar. They are the wild olive tree because they are not natural branches. They was not raised under the Mosiah law. They was the wild olive branch. They was the wild. Let's go back. And thou being a wild olive tree. Why was they a wild olive tree? Because they was uncivilized. They was not raised under the law of Moses. You had these Israelite foreigners that was following the philosophies from down here at the bottom, from Simeon to Issachar, which are northern Israel, or you can call the house of Israel, or Ephraim. You had these Israelite foreigners that was following the philosophy of the Greeks. They was following the philosophy of the Romans. And they was known as what? They was known as a wild olive tree. And they was grafted among them. They was grafted. They was grafted among them. Among who? The Jews. Because the grafted is the two sticks. We're going to show you they was grafted among them. Basically, the house of Israel became divided. And all the Mosiah is doing is trying to unite the same house of Israel that became divided. That's all. You see, they was grafted among them. The same people that went astray. When Israel became a divided kingdom during the days of Rehoboam, some in the future, the Most High will graft Israel back together again as one nation like it was during the days of old. When Saul ruled, when David ruled, and when Solomon ruled. You see? So they that was grafted among them was never talking about the biological Gentiles here in the red box. They that was grafted among them, the church wants you to believe it's talking about biological Gentiles. It's talking about white people. It's talking about Arabs and Chinese and all these other nations outside of Israel. Wrong. The ones that was grafted back in were Israelite foreigners, the same people that was split off. And with them partaketh of the root, which is Yahushua, and the fatness of the olive tree. Now, while it says, thou being a wild olive tree, we're going to show you who was the olive tree. We're going to show you who was the olive tree. We're going to go back into the Old Testament and show you who was always referred to the olive tree. All right? We'll show you that. Okay? Pursuing Romans 11:17. Thou being a wild olive tree was grafted in among them. So let's go to Jeremiah. I'm going to show you. Jeremiah 11:15. What have my beloved to do in my house, seeing she have wrought lewdness with many? And the holy flesh is passed from thee. When thou doest evil, then thou rejoice. 11:16 of Jeremiah. The Lord called thy name a green olive tree, fair and of a goodly fruit, with the noise of a great tumult. He have kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken. See, that was future prophecy, man, when the Pharisees and the scribes rejected the Messiah teachings. The branches was broken. We're going to see who this olive tree is referring to. Jeremiah 11:17, for the Lord of hosts that planted thee had pronounced evil against thee, for the evil of the house of Israel. For the evil of the house of Israel and the house of Judah, which they have done against themselves to provoke me to anger in offering incense to Baal. Jeremiah 11:18, and the Lord hath given me knowledge of it, and I know it. Then thou showest me their doings. See, so Jeremiah 11:17. He planted thee. What did he plant? A green olive tree, fair and of goodly fruits. You see? Now, the olive tree always referred to the house of Israel. So when you go back into Romans, and when you're looking at 17, if some of the branches be broken off, that was the Jews, the scribes and the Pharisees, and thou being a wild olive tree, the northern kingdom, Israelite foreigners, was grafted in among them with the partakers of the root and the fatness of the olive tree thereof. You know, basically they that was grafted among them were the same Israelites. I'm going to show you in Ezekiel 37 too. Don't worry, I'm going to show you that. They was grafted among them. So they was grafted, right? Let's go to Ezekiel 37:15. Because this was already prophesied about Ezekiel. This was already prophesied by the prophet Ezekiel. Ezekiel 37:15. Watch this. Because people want to act like they don't know about the grafting. The grafting was already talked about in Ezekiel 37:15, man. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Ezekiel 37:16, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel and his companions. Now, who is Judah and his companions? Judah and his companions on top. Judah and his companions. His companions is Benjamin and Levi, because those were known as the Jews. Benjamin, Judah, and Levi. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi is his companions. So he tells Ezekiel to take one stick and write upon it for Judah and the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim. Now, Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, would be the house of Israel, which is the northern kingdom, which is from Simeon to Issachar on the bottom. So he tells Ezekiel to take two sticks, right? One stick for the children of Judah, one stick for the children of Joseph, which is also known as the house of Israel, northern Israel. And for all the house of his companions. Ezekiel 37:17. And join them one to another, and join them one to another in one stick, that they shall become one in thy hand. Now these two sticks that was departed, when Ezekiel had two sticks, these two sticks that he was told to take and join together, both sticks represented the house of Israelites. It was just one stick represented Judah and his companions, and the other stick represented Joseph. Joseph would be Ephraim, which is the northern kingdom. And he told Ezekiel to join these sticks together. Both sticks was always Israel. Israel became a divided kingdom. And the Bible is all about Israel becoming back as one nation again. It never was talking about the Gentiles being grafted in the red box. It never was talking about the white people, Chinese people, East Indians, Arabs, Africans, Japanese, Chinese. It never was talking about the actual biological Gentiles. It was talking about Israelite foreigners that were had strayed away from the covenants. Okay? So right there, you want to talk about the grafting? They was grafted in. You want to talk about grafting? Go back to Ezekiel 37 chapter and begin with verse 15 and read down. And you can see the grafting. The sticks that Ezekiel put back together. You see, Ezekiel 37:18. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Ezekiel 37:19. Saying unto them, thus said the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, northern kingdom of Israel, which is in thy hand, of Ephraim, the northern kingdom of Israel, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, the northern kingdom Israelites, and I will put them with him, even the stick of Judah, the southern kingdom Israelites, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in thy hand. They should be one nation again during the days of Saul, during the days of David and Solomon, man. They won't become a divided nation when Solomon's son began to rule Rehoboam and Israel split it up. The whole entire Bible is about getting all these 12 tribes back in unison with one another, man. Because now today the 12 tribes look like this. They busted up. Blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans, we are divided from one another. The whole entire Bible is about getting blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans together back as one to be one nation again. That's all. So if you want to know about the grafting that took place in Romans 11:17, the grafting, go to Ezekiel 37 and begin with verse 15. Romans 11:18, boast not against the branches. He was telling the northern kingdom Israelites to boast not against the branches. Don't boast against the Jews. But if you boast, thou bearest not the root. If you boast, you don't bear Christ. Because if anything, Christ bare you. When he died on Calvary, he allowed you to be grafted back in through his blood. Did we not show you that? In Romans 5 and 10. Let's show you again. Romans 5 and 10. For if we were enemies, we were reconciled to God by the death of his son. We was reconciled to God by the death of his son. Just like the northern kingdom. So they can't boast against the natural branches. They can't boast against the Jews. Because they was reconciled by the Messiah's blood. That's why he said, boast not against the Jews. But if thou boast, you bear not the root. The root is the Messiah. If you boast, you don't bear the root. The root bear thee. Yahweh shall die for y'all. You see? To graft y'all back in. Romans 11 and 19. Thou wilt say then, the branches which were the Jews, southern kingdom was broke off, that I might be grafted in. Romans 11 and 19. Right? The branches was broke off, and it was already prophesied in Jeremiah. We already showed you that. It was already prophesied how some of the branches would be broke off, which were the Jews, that the northern kingdom might be grafted in. Romans 11 and 20. Well, because of unbelief, they was broken off. Because the Jews, the Pharisees, the scribes, the Sadducees didn't believe the Messiah and his teachings. Because of unbelief, they was broken off. And thou standest by faith. So he said, northern kingdom Israelites, you stand by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. Romans 11 and 21. For if God spared not the natural branches. Now, why they was called natural branches? They was called natural branches. The Jews was called natural branches because the Jews, let me show you the natural branches. The natural branches is on top. From Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, those were the natural branches. Because they was raised under the Mosaic law. They was raised under the Mosaic law from birth. So they was known as the natural branches. Down here, the northern kingdom, from Simeon to Issachar, they was not raised under the Mosaic law, man. Because they were dispersed in different lands. They was following the biological ways of the Gentile. They was following the philosophy of the Greeks and the philosophy of the Romans. So they was not raised under the laws of Moses. Therefore, they was known as the wild olive branch. But the natural branches were the Jews. They was raised from birth under the Mosaic law. For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare thee, not spare thee. You see. Let's see. Let's continue to move on. Romans 11 and 22. Behold, therefore, the goodness and the severity of God. Behold, the goodness and the severity of God. The goodness and severity on them which felt severity. On the Jews, the wrath of God. Severity is the wrath of God. So on them, when they say on them, that's the Jews, which felt the wrath of God. But towards thee, toward the northern kingdom of Israel, Israelite foreigners, goodness. If you continue in his goodness, otherwise thou also shalt be cut off. You see that? Romans 11 and 23. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, basically the Jews, they shall be grafted in. You see, the Jews, for God is able to graft them in again. Because Ezekiel already had prophesied it. Romans 11 and 24. For if thou were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, talking about the northern kingdom of Israel, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, they was grafted, like Ezekiel 37 chapter talks about, they was grafted to become one kingdom again, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, the Jews, be grafted into their own olive tree? You see, and so this grafting thing, man, This grafting thing is all about Israel. It was never, you can never say that Gentile nations was grafted in among the actual Israelites, because these Gentile nations was not given the covenants of the Most High God. These Gentile nations going into slavery when the Lord returns. These Gentile nations are our enemies. These Gentile nations never had rights as being God's special people, because he never chose them. So if anybody was grafted in, it was Israelite foreigners. Okay? I'm going to show you, man. Let's look at Amos 9 and 11. So let's go back into the Old Testament. Let's look at Amos 9 and 11. See, when you don't read your Old Testament, you suffer, because you don't know the history. Amos 9 and 11. And that day will I rise up the tabernacles of David. What is the tabernacles of David? The tabernacles of David is the 12 tribes of Israel, right? That is fallen. The tabernacle of David, the tabernacle of David that fell, was the 12 tribes of Israel when they became a united kingdom. I mean, when they became a divided kingdom during the days of Solomon's son, Rehoboam. And I will close up the breaches thereof. What does that mean? He would make them one nation again, like this. It would no longer be like this, because today we like this. But when the prophecy fully take its toll and fully take course, we're going to be one nation again. Blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans. Kwam Yasha, we're going to be one nation again. You see? That's closing up the breaches thereof. Closing up that gap. Closing up the breaches. Grafting that stick back together, like Ezekiel did in the 37th chapter. And I will raise up his ruins, you see, and I will build it as in the days of old. Because in the days of old, when Saul, David, and Solomon ruled, Israel was united. Amos 9 and 12, that they may possess the remnant of Edom. Now, who is Edom? You so-called white people. We going to possess you as slaves. You going into slavery. That they may possess the remnant of Edom and all of the heathen. We going to possess all you heathen. All you heathen going to be in chains, man. The heathen which are called by my name, because you call yourself the Jews, you Israelis, you Khazars, over in Palestine, Israel today. You are called by the Most High name. You call yourself the Jews when you're not, said the Lord that does this. So the remnant of Edom and all these heathens, man, we going to possess. To possess something is to take something. We're going to take you heathens into slavery. Okay? So the Bible was never for you heathens. You going in chains. You heathens going to change. This is the white man's destiny, and all you other heathens' destiny. Chinese, Japanese, East Indians, Arabs, Africans, white people. This is your destiny, according to the scriptures. We're going to possess you heathens, man. Salvation was never for you heathens, and you heathens was never grafted in. The children that was grafted in was the Israelite foreigners. This is another precept, Ephesians 2 and 2, wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world. See, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Ephesians 2 and 3, among whom also we all had our conversation in time past, in the lusts of the flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind. See, and we were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. Ephesians 2 and 4. But God, who is rich in mercy, for his great love, wherein he loved us, man. All right, check this out. Ephesians 2 and 5. Even when we were dead in sins, have quickened us together with Christ. By grace you are saved. Right? Now, what it's saying is basically, you can see for yourself, man. In Ephesians 2 and 2. It says, where in time past he walked according to the course of the world. Talking about the Israelites, man. And I'm going to show you a better verse. Let's go down to Ephesians, to cut to the chase, Ephesians 14. Same chapter, verse 14. Now watch this. Wait a minute. Let's go to verse 11 first, Ephesians 2:11. We're going to find out who these Gentiles are. Wherefore, remember that ye being in time past Gentiles. Now, if you're a biological Gentile, you're a Gentile born of birth, this wouldn't make sense. If you're an actual Gentile that was birthed into the world, an actual Gentile, why would Paul say that ye being in time past Gentiles? That wouldn't make sense. Because if you was a biological Gentile in the red box, How in the hell you can be in time past Gentiles? No. See, this letting you see that this talking about Israelites, because in time past, they were Gentiles. They was not biological Gentiles, but Israel was following the customs of the Greeks. They was following the customs of the Romans. They was following the customs of the Chinese, the Japanese, the East Indians, the Arabs, the Africans. They was following all their customs in time past. But they stopped following their customs in time past and returned back to their laws, statutes, and commandments and kept the covenant. So Ephesians 2 and 11, wherefore remember that being in time past, talking about the Israelites, you being in time past Gentiles, not by blood, but by philosophy. Not by blood, but by philosophy and deceit, following the philosophies of the biological Gentiles. They was Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called circumcision, and the flesh made by hands. Ephesians 2 and 12, that at that time ye were without Christ. These Israelite foreigners, they was without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. So, see, they was aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. This is all talking about Israel. So the northern kingdom of Israel, they was aliens to the commonwealth of Israel. They was known as Israelite foreigners. And this is why in the New Testament you have books like, in the New Testament, you have books like Paul letters that was written to the Romans. Israelites calling themselves Romans and down in Rome. Corinthians. Israelites calling themselves Corinthians down in the city of Greece, Corinth. Galatians. Israelites down in Galatia that was calling themselves Galatians. Ephesians. Israelites in Ephesus that was calling themselves Greeks. Ephesians. Philippians. Israelites in Philippi that was calling themselves Philippians. Colossians. Israelites in Colossae that was calling themselves Colossians. Thessalonians. Israelites in Thessalonica, Greece that was calling themselves Thessalonians. And so forth, man. This is why you have the epistles of Paul. Paul was writing to Israelite foreigners. He was never writing to biological Gentiles. Okay? So Ephesians 2 and 12, that in times ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. Talking about Israelite foreigners. They was aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. Because a lot of Israelites wasn't keeping the laws. Like a lot of you blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans today in America not keeping the laws. So you would be known as Gentiles, but not biologically. You could be known as Gentiles because you follow the ways of the white man. You follow the ways of these heathens. And strangers from the covenants. See, so who was strangers from the covenants and the promise? Who was strangers from the covenants and the promise? Having no hope and was without God and in the world. It was the coming Israel, man. Ephesians 2 and 13. But now in Christ Jesus, Hamashiach Yahushua, ye who sometimes were far off, who were far off? Israelite foreigners, are made near by the blood of Yahushua, man. Ephesians 2 and 14. Ephesians 2 and 14. For he is our peace, who have made both one. He made both one. He made both one. The northern and the southern kingdom. He made both of these one again. Like in the days of David, like in the days of Saul, like in the days of Solomon. He made them one again. And have broken down the middle wall of petition between us. He broke down the middle wall of petition between us, man. He broke down the middle wall of petition, man. And that middle wall of petition, you know what I'm saying? That was that animosity the Jews had against the house of Israel. Because, you know, at a point in time, the Jews was not to deal with the house of Israel. But he broke down that wall. And he broke down that wall actually beginning back with Acts the 11th chapter. Because after Acts the 11th chapter, salvation was given to the Israelite foreigners. He broke down that middle wall, man. You see? And then they was able to come back as one again. So Romans 11 and 24. If thou were cut out of if thou was cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, the northern kingdom, house of Israel, you was grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree. You see, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, the Jews, be grafted into their own olive tree? Romans 11 and 25. For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits. That blindness in part has happened to Israel. Blindness has happened to Israel, the Jews, until the fullness of the Gentiles be in, until the rest of the house of Israel, which is the northern kingdom, come in. Romans 11:26. And so all Israel shall be saved. So if you don't know who exactly Romans the 11th chapter is talking to, it sums it up here. It says, even if you didn't know, even if you was kind of you was skeptical. You know what I'm saying? You didn't know. You was like, man, I still don't know if this guy's right. I think the one that was grafted in was, I don't think he's breaking it down. I think the one that was grafted in was other nations. Even if you think that, it sums it up here in Romans the 11:26. It says, and so all Israel shall be saved. So all this stuff from Romans 11 verse 1 all the way down to 25. When it get to the 26th verse, it tells you who it's talking about. This is all Israel. It was never the actual biological Gentiles. And so all Israel shall be saved, as is written. There shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. Jacob, the ungodliness of Jacob is going to be turned. This is all about Jacob, man. This is all about Israel shall be saved. See? Romans 11:27, for this is my covenant unto them when I shall take away their sins. The Most High only made a covenant with Israel, not the other nations. Romans 11:28, as concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sakes, but as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sakes. Romans 11:29, for the gifts and calling of God are without repentance. All right. Romans 11:30, for as ye in time past have not believed God, yet have now attained mercy through their unbelief. Who was unbelief? Talking about through the Jews' unbelief. Not all the Jews, the scribes and the Pharisees. Romans 11:31. Even so have these also now not believed, that through your mercy they also may obtain mercy. Romans 11:32, for God hath concluded them in all in unbelief, that he might have mercy upon all. Romans 11:33, oh the depth of the riches. Romans 11:33 says, of the depth of the riches. Now the riches both of wisdom and knowledge. O depth of the riches of both, the wisdom and knowledge of God, how unsearchable are his judgments and his ways past finding out. The riches here is referring to wisdom and knowledge. So, O depth of the riches, the wisdom and knowledge that was given to the house of Israel. O depth of the riches, because the riches both are wisdom and knowledge of God. That wisdom and the riches is the riches is the wisdom and knowledge that was given to the house of Israel. It says, how unsearchable are his judgments and his ways past finding out. Romans 11:34, for who have known the mind of our Lord. Who have known the mind of the Lord? Who have been his counselor. Romans 11:35, who have first given to him, and it shall be recompense unto him again. Romans 11:36, for of him and through him and to him all things, to whom be glory forever. Amen. And so it's just talking about Romans 11 is talking about the grafting. To save a whole lot of time, you know, just go to Ezekiel 37, man. Ezekiel 37 already explained the grafting. Amos 9 and 11 already explained the tabernacles of David that would be raised up. You know, raised up. You know what I'm saying? So basically, man, if you still thinking that other nations, it was other nations in Romans the 11th chapter that it was talking about being grafted. No, that's not talking about that. Because even if you said that, man, I believe in the New Testament, I believe that the Grecians are biological heathens that can partake in the grafting. That's not true. I'll show you who the Grecians are in the New Testament. I can show you that. This is Acts 6:1. Matter of fact, Acts 6:1. In those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews because their widows was neglected in daily ministration. So Acts 6:1 talks about there was Grecians and Hebrews arguing. They had got into an altercation. We'll show you who these Grecians are in Acts 6:1. So when you go down to Grecians, it says Hellenists.
Strong's G 1675. Hellenistes. Hellenistes.
Or Hellenists. Now G1675 or 1675 in the Greek. Let's click on that for Grecians to see who they were. And it says right here, a Hellenist, one who imitates the manners and customs or the worship of the Greeks and use Greek tongue. B, used in the New Testament of Jews born in foreign lands and speaking Greek. So who are the Grecians? Who are the Grecians? When it says there is no difference between Jew or Greek, who are the Grecians? Hellenists, one who imitates the manners and customs or the worship of the Greeks and use Greek tongue. B, used in the New Testament of Jews that was born in foreign lands and speaking Greek, like Corinthians, like Ephesians, like Thessalonians. You see, they were Jews born in foreign lands speaking Greek, and not only speaking Greek, but following the philosophies and customs and the idols of the Greeks. But they was Jews biologically. So don't get that twisted. Okay, Acts 6:1, it speaks about how there was murmuring among the Grecians and the Hebrews. You see, and so when it gets here, it says Jew or Greek. Jew or Greek, both of these are Israelites, man. There's no difference between Jew and Greek, I believe. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Jew and Greek. Romans 10:12, for there is no difference between Jew and Greek. The same Lord is over all, rich unto that call upon. There's no difference between an Israelite that is a Jew, and there's no difference between an Israelite that is professing to be a Greek. Because you had Israelites that just thought that they were Greeks when they was biologically Jews, but they was raised up in these lands in Greece, and they just thought they was Greeks. It was nothing that you can do to detour these Jews from thinking that they was not Greeks. They was following the philosophy, customs, worshiping Greek gods, speaking Greek tongue, you know. And so Paul was letting the people know there's no difference between an Israelite that is a Jew, that profess himself a Jew, and there's no difference between an Israelite that want to keep calling himself a damn Greek, because biologically they all are the same. By blood they are all Israelites. For the same Lord is over all and rich unto all that call upon him. You see? You see? So yeah, we know who those Grecians are. They Israelites. So I hope you guys was edified with this lesson. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video. This video has been approximately an hour and 28 something minutes and some seconds. And I don't want to prolong it. I know it was long enough. But please like, comment, and subscribe. Please check me out as well on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. Until next time, Shabbat Shalom. Guys, see you.